Hi there, my name's Bill Tyler. I'm from the Education Partnerships team at Newcastle College, and welcome to our second college catch-up. So this is an opportunity for us to share our ideas and thoughts with our colleagues across schools and organisations in the North East and beyond. And these are my colleagues, Katie McCluskey and Chris Byrne. And we have a very special guest, Kelly Oakland from Washington Academy.
Hello.
So, hi, Kelly. Hi, Kelly, would you like to say a little bit about what you do at your school?
Yeah, so at Washington, my official title is Head of Personal Development, but that also includes being the designated careers lead. So part of my job is just to make sure that our students get to the destinations most appropriate for them. And at the minute, it's kind of battling worry and anxiety and just keeping everyone in the loop.
Great. Right, well, I'm sure we'll find out more from you as we go on. Right. So in this episode, we thought it'd be a great time to discuss our application process and try to answer some of those burning questions we often get about how to apply, what happens next, and address some of the queries we may receive from parents and carers at this important time. At the start of the calendar year, there's a combination of year 11s who have already applied, they're really organised, they've done their research, applied, and they're ready to go. And there's also those students who are kind of a bit undecided and might not even know where to start. But we kind of get questions of both of those types of students, because obviously the year 11s that have applied, they're wondering what's going to happen next. And the ones that haven't applied yet probably have lots of questions about what they can do next and what their options are. So it's great to have Kelly here, and being a careers leader, she's on the front line when it comes to these types of queries. So I'm sure she'll bring a unique insight into the types of questions which are currently being asked by pupils and parents. Right. So before we start, and with us concentrating on those sometimes difficult 15 and 16-year-olds, I thought it might be fun to find out what's the funniest thing a teenager has ever said to you whilst you've been at work. So my quick one is that basically one time I was in a school and I was basically, for the whole workshop, I was being compared to some Grand Theft Auto character with a bald head and like stubble. And he was like, and this lad was like adamant that I was this like.
I'm not even my look-alike.
I was trying to find him online, but I couldn't see him for a picture. But yeah. But basically, the whole workshop, he was basically convinced I was this character, and I think he really thought I was that person. It doesn't really exist, but in the mind of a 15-year-old, I was definitely this Grand Theft Auto character. Not that he should be playing Grand Theft Auto when he's 15 years old, but that's a whole other podcast, I think.
I tell you what, he's actually hit the nail on the head. I'm not even joking. Hey, wow.
Yeah. Katie, have you got one?
Oh, mine's a bit shorter than that. I think it was one of the first times I'd gone out with Newcastle College to deliver a workshop and just getting the question, Missy, you're on Tinder. Honestly, wanted the ground to swallow me up.
Take it as a compliment.
Yeah. Kelly?
Well, I can't believe I'm
going to tell you.
People are going to hear this, but anyway, my look-alike, and you will probably see it when I tell you, it's Sarah Milligan, or is it Mulligan, the comedian?
Oh yeah.
So my year 11s, Miss, tell us a joke. I'm like, whatever. It was a colleague actually who told them this as well. So this is probably when they were in year 8 and they've never let it down. So yeah. So even this, Sarah. Hi.
Yeah, we'll treat her.
Yeah.
Retweet.
Chris?
Well, man, you know what mine is, don't you? It's the same crap all the time. Yes, sir. Are you Geordie Shore like? I'm like,
every time.
I'm like, oh yeah, sure. You look like I've been likened to most of the cast, if I'm honest. You look like Kyle Hughes today. I'm like, no.
No, but it's a good one, isn't it, for a bit of an icebreaker in a class. Chris is from Geordie Shore. Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. So on to the serious matter of applying for college. Right. Okay. So One of the first things we get asked by students and their parents is how to make an application for a full-time further education course. And as most people can know, you can do this by logging onto the Newcastle College website. You can do some research on the courses you're interested in on the website. And then there's a big orange apply now button, which is not that difficult to miss. It's there. You click on the apply now button, and then you can add the chosen course into your basket. If you're not quite sure which course you want to do yet, you can apply for more than one course. But what we usually say is try to stick to 2 at the most, because obviously it gets to more than that. Really, you probably need to do a bit more research and find out a bit more before you kind of go forward with your application. So is there any other part of that process that anyone would like to add in terms of that initial application process?
Can I just ask, because this is something I get asked a lot.
Yeah.
What happens if they apply for a course and maybe get higher grades or lower grades than expected? Can they change that option? And when can they change it up to?
So basically, they'll apply for college with their particular grades. What will happen is they usually get an email back. The email back will be their course offer. If they want to accept that place, they'll click accept, and their place is held based on the course they applied for. So GCSE results day, towards the second last week in August, they'll get their actual results, and they'll be able to come into college in enrolment week and enrol into that course. Now, if they get the grades that or the entry requirements, then they can go onto that course as planned. If they don't get those grades and say they applied for level 3 in sport and the entry requirements were grade 4 or above in 5 subjects, and 2 of those being English and maths. If they didn't get their English or maths or both at those grades, then they could apply, and they would be put onto a course which suits that level, and that would be, say, level 2 in sport. They would do that for 1 year, alongside resitting their English and maths at college, and then at the end of that year, they could then progress onto the level 3. So, the journeys are very different for each and every individual. And I was one of them individuals who didn't meet requirements leaving year 11, so had to go back for another year. There are opportunities to still study the thing you want to study, the course, in going to that career. It just means that we make adjustments in and around GCSE results day when the students will come into college and look to enrol into a course.
So also, another thing that students can do if they are applying and they're thinking about, what they want to do next, but they're not quite sure what they want to do, is do lots of research. So, for example, all colleges have open events, and I'm sure most of them at the moment probably have virtual open events as well. We have our virtual open events on the first Wednesday of every month, and it's really easy for students to kind of log on to them and get information from lecturers, from members of support staff and so on, and they can have private chats with different people who teach the different courses. So if they're still not sure, a bit undecided, that's a really good way of finding out a bit more as well, logging on to one of the virtual open events too. I
think there's a key word there, Bill, like you mentioned, is choice. And I think sometimes, what it's like for just generally every day, having your dinner, you make a choice on what you want to have, and the choice is based on specific details. Now, as a young person who might be faced with a choice in courses, it's a case of doing their research. And the open event is one of those ways to do their research. And it might be that they're interested in three subjects, but they have no clue what those subjects entail, no clue about entry requirements, and then no clue about the next step into, jobs, university, careers. Yeah. So I think for anybody who's faced with a choice, it's about understanding the details of the choice, like what is the choice? The only way to do that is like what you've just said there, is to really, is to go to virtual open events and speak to people and find out the details of what each and everything entails. So, I think advice from me really would be, for any student, well, anybody, isn't it? Anybody, when you're faced with a choice, you have to do your research, because that's the only way you know if you're making the right one, really, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Kelly, do you find that quite a lot of your students do go on to open events or attend open events or log on to them, or what's it been like?
I know we have a lot of involvement with yourselves, kind of doing our own one-on-one events. Yeah. I think sometimes our year 11s maybe a little bit worried about attending virtual events because they don't know what the format's going to be like. So, for example, they might not want to turn the camera on, or do they have to be unmuted? I think sometimes there can be a little bit of an anxiety around what to expect, so it may well put some of them off. So it's kind of what I want to know. What would the typical online event look like? What would they be expected to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, Katie, did you want to mention
yeah, so our virtual open event, I mean, you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to. You don't have to speak over a microphone. It can all be done kind of online, you know, like on like a live chat kind of system. I mean, there's as a parent who logs onto them, you might want to speak to a course tutor. You might want to do it, via video call or, kind of on the phone, which again is absolutely fine. But as a young person, there's no reason why you would have to do that. So yeah, you can do it via live chat.
I think like the whole basis of the evening that we have is you basically register your interest, you get given the link, then you log in, and you go into this. It's just on the screen. It's like this big, huge hall with different rooms, and you would go into the exhibit hall where you see all the different course areas, and within each of those course areas is another room. Click on the room, it opens up, and you would just basically type in your query, and our course tutors will basically private message that person with their query, and they'll chat privately. And that usually is done, as Katie says, over like a live chat. It can be done via a call, it can be done, phone call, it can be done via a video call, but they don't have to have cameras and things on. So it's essentially like a real open event, but it's just virtual, and done via live chat.
Yeah.
And also as well, on those open events, you've got like a bank of videos and stuff. So if you just wanted to kind of gather some more information and you didn't want to speak to anybody, there is like the auditorium where there's a bank of videos that we've made, and it explains, a bit more about the college, what it's like to be a college student, what kind of courses that we offer, stuff about apprenticeships and things like that. So there is like a few different things that you can do if you were to register.
Yeah. And then if the student does decide they want to apply it on the night, just like a walk-in open event, you can basically go to that particular stand and click on the apply now button and do it through the open event as well. So it's meant to be quite a streamlined kind of process. So yeah, basically that's quite interesting to hear that from Kelly. I think about how some students might be put off and going because they don't know how it will work. Maybe that's something to think about, isn't it? Because obviously you don't have to necessarily be put on the spot and have your face being shown and stuff. You can just do it all kind of typing kind of thing. Yeah, good. Yeah. Right. So the application process, one of the things we get asked about is how does the process kind of work? Well, in terms of the application process, as in like applying for a course. So students, parents and teachers often ask, what happens next once an application has been made? So Chris, would you like to run us through that?
I did before. I kind of ran through the process before when Kelly asked the question. But I think just to add to that process, the only other thing I would add would be if you're in, say, art and design, music and performance, the only difference would be to the normal process would be that you would have a portfolio check. So if you're in art and design, you do a portfolio check, which would be done virtually because of the current circumstances. And usually with music and performance, you would have an audition. Again, that's something that will be done virtually. But those students in those courses will be told about the process once they've applied. So they'll be given all the information in more detail once they've made that application and gone through that process.
Yeah.
Great. Can I just ask, because I know this is a question I get the most, I think some parents think that colleges are closed, so they are worried about if an application has been put in before lockdown, that may well have been halted. So has the kind of timeline changed, if you like, due to lockdown, or are things continuing as usual?
More or less continuing as usual, really. I mean, if a student puts an application in today, the likelihood is, all our colleagues who work on the applications are still working from home. They'll get an offer back within a day or so, for that. Applications for art and design and performing arts courses are still being processed as well. It's just that the audition or portfolio check might be a bit of a later date than normal. but everything's still going through. So we're still encouraging people to apply because everything is still being seen and being processed and everything. Definitely, yeah. Another thing that students apply for sometimes to college is an apprenticeship, and obviously there's quite a few ways of applying for an apprenticeship. So Katie, did you want to just cover that quickly about how that works?
Go through that. So obviously, if anybody wants to apply for apprenticeship, you can apply through a college. So we've got an apprenticeship team, a dedicated apprenticeship team who will help young people with their CVs and match them with an employer. So that's a really, a good way with a lot of support about applying for apprenticeships. But one thing that we do advise is that don't just come through us. There's lots of other ways of applying for apprenticeships as well. Things like asking friends and family, applying directly to a company, going on the .gov website, registering, your details on there and doing searches on there. And there's lots of different ways. One thing that our apprenticeship team's really good at is they'll help you with your CV and also interview techniques. And obviously things are changing. A lot of kind of interviews and things now might start this year virtually. So again, it's just giving helpful hints and tips on that and just to settle any anxieties around that as well. But yeah, there's lots of different ways of applying for apprenticeships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kelly, how are you finding students applying for apprenticeships? What's your take on it?
I think, kind of what I'm noticing is that there aren't as many around, probably because of lockdown and the COVID situation. So my worry for my students will be those who would like an apprenticeship, maybe to have a backup plan as well. And also for me, it's really to make them aware that you can actually apply for apprenticeships and that kind of course through college. I think some of them tend to think it's just like applying for a job and you can't go through the college route with that. But yeah, so I suppose my worry would be for this year, are they going to be there, the apprenticeships, in terms of are they going to be there for them to apply to?
Yeah.
I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there, Kelly, when you said that there probably aren't as many, and that that is generally down, to the world we're living in right now. But you also mentioned about the students having a backup plan, and us as a team, we often, when we're working with young people, we often say, absolutely apply for an apprenticeship through as many means as you can. However, say you're applying for an apprenticeship as a plumber, it's also good to apply for a plumbing course at college as a backup plan. And what often happens with students who do that is they'll do 1 year at college, and obviously this is down to them. If they apply themselves, they've got a really good attitude, their work's outstanding. Our apprenticeship providers will come in after that first year and speak to our apprenticeship team and often ask, do you have any candidates who are ready? And because they've had that 1 year of experience at college in that natural environment, and they often, can make that step much easier. That transition's a little bit smoother. So the backup plan is massively important. If you can't get an apprenticeship, it's not the end of the world. You can still get one in the future. It is just about making sure that you cover all, you tick all the boxes, basically.
Yep. Good. Right. Okay. On to frequently asked questions from students and parents and carers. So I don't know if anyone, I've got one here. So basically, obviously, every year we always get students, don't we, kind of like asking the same kinds of things. It's funny, isn't it, really? So you kind of think it's just like those kind of like questions that you always get asked. And, it's a good conversation to have with students and a good conversation to have with parents as well. And I'm sure Kelly probably gets quite a few kind of similar questions or certain questions as well. So one of the questions I get is, do I need a national insurance number? Which is quite a basic question, but, obviously you get a 15, 16-year-old who goes onto the Newcastle College website and goes onto the application form and then asks for a national insurance number. And first thing is sometimes you even have to explain what a national insurance number is, but then once you get past that little thing, then you basically say, no, you don't need it at the moment, because some students might have it, some students might not have it yet, but it's basically something that's needed at enrollment stage. So if they can put it in at an application stage, great, because it's one less thing to fill in later on. But ultimately, it's just about having that national insurance number in time for enrollment, which all like 16-year-olds will get. So that's like quite a simple one to say, no, you don't need it. And also the field on our application form isn't asterisked, which means it's not like a, You don't have to fill it in, but yeah, it's always, that's almost like it's a really little thing, but it's like one of those like almost like a little barrier to like for some students to like kind of get to it and then not apply because they think they can't get past that national insurance number question. So that's that one that I always get asked. Has anyone got another question?
Yeah, I suppose the biggest one this year for us is the GCSE grades. So obviously the way in which GCSEs are going to be calculated, we are not 100% sure yet. So as a school, and I know other schools will be doing the same, our students have a current working grade and a target grade.
Yeah.
So they won't get a predicted grade because they will be used in the sort of the teacher assessed grades later on, if that's what we have to go to. So a lot of our students are unsure as to what grade to put down there when they apply. And also you've got the anxiety around some of them really wanted to sit the GCSEs and they kind of think they may well get less than what they expected. Mm-hmm. Probably won't be the case, but how can we alleviate that stress in terms of what grades they put down?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're waiting for final confirmation on this, but basically what we're doing at the moment, obviously because some schools aren't even providing, predicted grades at the moment. So there's a mixture of different things kind of going on. And what we're asking students to do is kind of just to put down the most realistic kind of like expectations about what they're expecting. And most students should know that, even if it can't be as detailed as, English this, maths this, history this, even it can be something along the lines of, 5 GCSEs at grade such and such above or whatever, just to give us some kind of indication about what they're expecting. And then also what we want them to do is try and apply for something they think, when they're looking at the levels of course, looking at the one that they think is the most realistic course for them and the one that kind of matches, what they were expecting and what they are expecting to get, and try and put that down as their first choice. If they don't get, the grades they were expecting, there's lots of different levels at college. So basically, obviously, if you say didn't get 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, including maths and English, and you applied for a level 3, then when you come in to enroll in the summer, we'll just probably talk to you about maybe starting on a level 2 for a year first, resitting your maths and English GCSE or whatever it is you need to do, and then progressing onto it, the level 3 the year after. If you say apply for a level 2 and you actually got higher than you expected, again, we'll have that conversation with you, and it might be that we end up putting on a higher level. So it's not like the end of the world what you put down when you apply. We'll always offer you a place at college, but it might just kind of like make it a bit easier the more information that you have. But definitely don't put off. What we would say is don't put off applying because you don't have those predicted grades. Put down as much realistic information as you possibly can, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We often get asked about, I think some people get put off about applying for college, like even early doors, because they think, well, if I apply for college in November, that means I've got to go to college and I'm not ready to make that decision yet. That's not actually the case. Like when you apply for college, and you can apply for more than one college, which I would also recommend, people going around and doing their research, having a look in them environments and speaking to tutors about courses. But when they actually apply, you can't change your mind. You're not signing your life away. It isn't, you're not signing the dotted line to say, I am now definitely attending Newcastle College or whatever other college. And it's the same for sixth form. You can make that decision on a sixth form. You can look to apply and do your research. It doesn't mean you're having to go to sixth form either. It's, the options are there, and it's about securing your place, and it's about at least having that place there. So when it comes to decision time, that you've got the choice of, I'm actually ready to take that step and go to college now. So that's the question like all of us get asked is, firstly, can I apply for more than one college? Am I signing my life away? And can I change my mind? And the answer to the change the mind question is yes, you can. And often our students will be doing a course and it's not for them. So, they do sometimes get an option to change their mind and go on to another course. Granted, that it can't just happen, 2 or 3 times in a year, but there is an opportunity early doors to, if they want to change their mind, they can do. So we are flexible. We are flexible and very supportive with students like that. So yeah, quite a frequently asked question, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Kelly, is there any other questions that you can think of that you kind of get asked? Anything?
So for example, we've got kind of some students who will apply, who have applied already, they've applied before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
When would you say is the absolute last cut-off point to apply?
Mm. Yeah.
It's a tough one,
yeah.
I've bamboozled you.
Because they could apply, right up until even in September, to be fair. But
yeah, you wouldn't encourage it, would you?
No, I mean, for me, to
is...
help me sleep at night, I would say Easter.
Yeah.
Or else I start to lose more sleep when they haven't applied.
Yeah,
but obviously, I think the situation that we're in at the moment is everything's so much up in the air, and I think we've got so much more panic around applying.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, this time of year in school, we'll be having our taster days, we'll be having sessions with yourselves, and it will be a lot more relaxed. I think we've gone into lockdown, and the students think, right, I need to apply now. I need me place. College is shut, and it's trying to reassure, no, everything is not operating as usual, but there are staff there working from home, and your application has been received. Kind of don't panic, if you like. But
yeah. So like I think you're right. That kind of Easter time is kind of like the time when people, the most organised students will probably have applied by then, and then you'll get those students who are still not quite sure, maybe like kind of like a May, June kind of time. But then when you get to July and August, then really you need to definitely get your application in by then, because you do find that some courses might not have the capacity for everybody. We had a few examples last year, didn't we, Chris, where we just didn't have the space for them in the end. And it's not necessarily down to it can be sometimes down to space. Because, say for example, if you had like a course in construction or a course in professional cookery, you've only got so much space in those particular places to have so many students. So I don't think there's any harm in always encouraging students to apply. Do the research, get apply to more than one college if they're not quite sure where they want to go, and make that decision nearer to the time if they're not quite sure where they want to go or what they want to do.
Basically, don't be lastminute.com. Because if you be lastminute.com, you might not get a place on the course you want, and then you're going to be sad. So it's about applying. It's about applying sooner rather than later, but without the added pressure of telling people you must apply now. So, but the right time to apply for anyone is the right time to apply for anyone is when they've done their research. And that should be round about now.
Yeah. Right. So another question. Now I was speaking to a colleague who works in student services the other day. Big shout out to Ros Curtin there. Whoop whoop. I'm sure she'll love that. Ros says they get quite a lot of questions about bursaries and how to apply for them, because obviously at college there's a lot of kind of financial support that students can access. So currently, if you have a household income of less than, and I'll get corrected if I'm wrong here, but I think this is right. If you had a household income of less than £28,000 a year, then you'll be eligible for a free travel pass, free college meals, and all your equipment and trips paid for as well. So it definitely, for students who are travelling in from outside the area, it's a definite incentive to not worry about coming to college and things like that. So in terms of applying for that, basically they'll do that in the enrolment period, so they can find out a lot more about the bursary already on our website, find out how that's offered at the moment, although things can change, and then in that enrolment period, around that kind of GCSE results day, that's when they can kind of apply, and I think they can apply kind of online, or they can apply on paper, but these things might change. But basically, don't worry about applying yet, but definitely do your research about the bursary and what you're eligible for. And just on that point, when I'm thinking about support, obviously we have learning support service at the college as well. And again, another barrier to maybe a student thinking about coming to college is willing to get the same type of support or the same level of support that they got at school. And we have a really good learning support service. And we always say to a student, if you let us know what type of support that you require when you come to college, we'll work closely with you and with the school and with the local authority and whoever else is involved to make sure that the support that you require, we try and put in place for you. So what we say about that is basically, don't leave it to the last minute to let us know about the support you need. Let us know about the support you need early on, and then we can try and put that in place for you. Yeah. Do you get a few students, Kelly, like that who are worried about support and things? Or
yeah, I would say sort of our SEND department may well need more support.
Yeah.
It's just nice to know that they can get that in college as well.
Great, good. Right. So that's that. We got a question from our good friends at Northumberland Careers Guidance team. They asked on Twitter, a lot of students have had a very different experience of school due to COVID restrictions. They and parents often reflect on what the setup in college will be. They ask, should I go to college or wait a year? And is it still worth going if I won't be there? And these are some of the examples that they're getting asked at the moment. So, Chris, have you got any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, the answer is yes. It will be worth coming to college. So I can give you a little insight into what college has been like, sort of pre-lockdown 3.0. We had some students who basically would be in a class, and you would have half of them, working at home virtually and half on campus, and it would just be split like that. So they were very much still getting, the benefits of being on campus and working with their tutors, face to face, obviously with social distancing in smaller groups. And then the other half were learning at home. And essentially, I suppose that question comes down to any other choice that they might have, say that would be sixth form, staying on at school, they would have to do the same sort of thing anyway, in terms of, very much now we're all at home, online learning, online working, and so it wouldn't be that much different. And I think it shouldn't put anyone off. If college is a route for you, for the reasons, for the right reasons, then 100%, absolutely apply for college, because firstly, we don't know what September is going to look like anyway. It could be totally different to what it is now. But if it's not, and we're still virtually learning, there'll be an element of being on campus and not on campus. So you're still getting that experience. Having said that as well, the online experience is fantastic also. I've been in lessons myself through different departments and looked at the experience the students are getting. And, it is fantastic. It is high standards. They're still getting that level of learning. So 100%, they still should apply. They're going to learn, they're going to get their qualifications, they're going to get that experience. So yeah, 1,000,000%, definitely apply. The answer is yes.
So you heard it from Chris first, 1,000,000%.
1 million,
yeah.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, that's right. Great, thanks, Chris. Yeah. I was just thinking about the careers service impartial advice and guidance when they're telling all the students that 1,000,000% you should apply to Newcastle College.
Well, it doesn't have to be our college. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just joking.
If that's an option, however, if they want to say that, that's fine. If that's an option for people, they shouldn't be put off. I totally get it. I totally get why people are apprehensive and feeling anxious about it. Absolutely, because there's a lot of uncertainty for everybody. But one thing you can be certain of, is you'll get a good experience. You'll get to learn. And that's what matters really.
And the world keeps turning.
100%.
It does.
Right. So moving forward, so we know that there's a need for students, parents, and carers to be able to understand application processes. Last week, us as a team, we sent out emails to all of our contacts in schools and in careers services with information about, the application processes. But if anyone who's watching this podcast, hasn't received that information and wants it, please get in touch with us and we'll be happy to send that information on to you. We've even put it together into which Kelly doesn't know about. She might want this herself. I've put it together in a little PowerPoint, which can be sent out to students as well, which they can kind of work through and has some of the things that they need to do to apply for a course at the college. So that's available as well. Also, we're happy to help schools and organisations with the application process, and we're available to deliver live application workshop sessions, one-to-one advice, or advice via email. We've also got a short recorded video taking a student through the process as well, if anyone wants to access that. So there's loads of stuff, just kind of get in touch with us, basically. Well, I think that just about covers everything. Kelly, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been great getting your insight into things.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Are there any last words that anyone wants to share before we wrap things up?
I think one final thing just to mention, I think we might have forgot, is just that we have got a special parents' evening in the pipeline, which is coming up. So parents and carers will have the opportunity to get in touch with us and ask us some questions that they've got as well, that their children might be a little bit too scared to ask or whatever. There's details coming really soon about that, so just watch this space and it'll be out soon. Yeah.
Great. And we're looking at kind of like possibly Wednesday the 10th of February for that.
Yeah.
Confirmation will be coming soon on that. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can go to our Education Partnerships microsite, which is going live very soon. And you can also email us education.partnerships@ncl-col.ac.uk, or you can tweet us, and I am at @NCLBillT. Chris?
You need it here. At NCL.
We'll get Katie to add that. Yeah. What are you, Chris?
At NCL Chris B.
Yeah. Katie?
At NCL KTM.
And what are you, Kelly? I know you are if you can't remember. Kelly is at Kelly_Oakland.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. Thanks, Kelly, very much for attending, and thanks for all your help and work and everything that you do, generally speaking, because it's really appreciated.
Thank you, and so are you guys.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you next time. And we're probably looking at an apprenticeships special for our next podcast. So keep it real, guys.
Bye.